The generator is already running when I step out of the bunk cabin, which means I forgot to shut it down last night, which means I owe myself a hard look before I do anything else. The sound is steady, not hunting, not coughing, just that constant diesel thrum pushing through the cold air. A clean run. Lucky. I pull my hood up, walk across the packed snow, and keep my boots on the old track I stamped in yesterday, so I do not slip on glare ice hidden under the crust. The camp is dead quiet besides the generator, the faint creak of trees in the wind, and a raven somewhere up the cut line. No other human noise, no doors, no radios, no engines on the road. Just me and machines that do not care if I am tired. The seasonal logging camp sits north of Quesnel, British Columbia, far enough out that the last town lights disappeared behind me before the first gravel mile markers showed up. When the outbreak hit, this place was still half awake for the season. Some of the crew had already bailed. A couple guys stayed long enough to park the skidders, lock the fuel cage, and leave a note in the shop that said the company was shutting everything down until further notice. That was the last official instruction I ever got. 6 months later, I do not count days. I count filters, belts, gallons, and the number of times I can start a machine before the batteries stop forgiving me. I walk straight to the generator shed and put my hand on the exhaust pipe guard without thinking. I yank my hand back and put it in my pocket. Stupid. The cold makes you grab heat even when heat is warning. I crouch and check the fuel line for frost. I run my glove over the hose clamps. I look for seepage under the injection pump. Everything is dry. The sound stays steady. I open the panel and shine my headlamp in, slow and careful, since light in the wrong direction at night carries far in clear air. The hour meter is a joke now. I have no idea what the true hours are. I do the checks anyway because routine keeps me alive. Oil level, coolant, belt tension, air filter restriction gauge. I wipe the dipstick, reinsert, pull again, and watch the line of oil settle. Good enough. I shut the generator down. The sudden silence makes me stop moving. I stand there with my hand still on the switch, listening. Not to the generator, to everything else. Wind through branches, snow falling from a limb in a soft rush. The distant snap of a tree that has too much ice on it. Nothing that sounds human. Nothing that sounds wrong. When the silence holds, I breathe out through my nose and force myself to start the next task instead of letting my mind wander into the usual loop of questions that have no answers. I have power windows in the shop and in one cabin, powered off a small solar setup that used to keep radios and lights going for the crew. It is not enough for the whole camp, not in winter, not with snow cover, but it runs my charging station and a few LED strips. The generator stays off until I need it. Diesel is life. I already learned that lesson the hard way in the second month, when I ran a heater all night and woke up to a tank level that made my stomach go cold for reasons I do not allow myself to describe in easy words. I head to the shop. The yard is a frozen mess of tire tracks, pallet stacks, and snow berms. In summer, it would be mud and ruts. In winter, it is sharp and hard and loud if you move too fast. I keep my pace slow. I scan the tree line. I scan the road. I scan the ridge line that overlooks the camp from the west. I built that habit after I saw the first people wander through the woods here 3 months ago. 2 hikers, maybe, maybe not. Both moved wrong. Both were alone. Both had no gear worth taking. I watched from the shadow of the shop door until they drifted out of sight. I did not chase. I did not wave. I did not call. I stayed quiet and let the forest keep them. Inside the shop, the air smells like old oil, solvent, and cold steel. It is the only smell that still feels familiar. I shut the door behind me and throw the heavy bar into the brackets I welded on after the first month. When I realized a padlock means nothing if a person is desperate and has time. The bar means time. Time means options. I hang my coat, then go straight to the workbench where I keep a notebook open. The pages are smudged and wrinkled from glove hands and spilled coffee. On the left page, I have a list of repairs. On the right page, I have calories. I do not write feelings. Feelings make you do dumb things. Numbers keep you honest. Breakfast is oatmeal and dried berries, measured. I heat water on the propane stove I brought into the shop after the cabin pipes froze one night, and I had to spend half a day thawing a line with a heat gun and a prayer. I eat standing up, eyes on the small window that faces the road. I do not sit with my back to anything anymore. I used to laugh at that in movies. Now it is just how I live. When I finish, I clean the pot right away. Grease and crumbs are invitations. Mice here do not act gentle. They chew wire insulation. They shred paper. They get into everything. I set traps every night. I check traps every morning. I do not miss a check because a missed check turns into a problem that costs me time, and time costs me fuel, and fuel costs me the chance to survive winter. I move through the shop in order. Battery shelf first. I keep 6 deep cycle batteries on a rotating charge schedule. 2 on charge, 2 resting, 2 in use. I learned to label them after I killed 3 in a row by over-discharging. I check voltages with a meter. I write the numbers. I swap one battery out. I move it to the charge position under the solar controller. I run a quick inspection of my wiring. Nothing smells burned. No black marks. Good. Next is the sawmill rig. It is not a real sawmill. It is a chainsaw mill setup bolted to a homemade frame. Running off a chainsaw, I baby more than any other tool. It is loud, dangerous, and worth every ounce of effort. Because cutting slabs by hand with an axe eats time and eats calories. I do not run it unless I need to stockpile wood. Today, I need to stockpile wood. The temperature dropped overnight, and the forecast I caught on the radio yesterday said another cold front is coming through the region. The radio forecast might be wrong. It might be weeks old. It might be a recorded loop. It is still more information than the sky gives me. The radio sits on a shelf above the bench, connected to an antenna I mounted on the shop roof. It is an old unit meant for camp use, nothing fancy. I turn it on for 5 minutes every morning and 5 minutes every night. I do not leave it on. Noise carries. I keep the volume low and use headphones. I scan through frequencies, slow and methodical. Static, static, static. A faint voice that cuts out. A burst of numbers. A repeating emergency tone that sounds automated. Nothing that says there is a government coming back. Nothing that says the world has rules again. I shut the radio off and stand there a second with the headphones in my hands. Part of me wants to keep scanning until I find a human voice that sounds calm. That part of me gets ignored. I have work to do. I roll the shop door open just enough to slip out and keep the gap narrow. I do not raise it all the way unless I am moving equipment. I step into the yard and head to the wood pile. The pile is low. I do not let it get low again. I grab the sled I built from a scrap sheet of plastic and a couple of runners. I drag it toward the edge of the cut area where I stacked logs under a tarp. The tarp is weighed down with old tires to keep wind from ripping it. I pull one tire off, then another, fold the tarp back and expose the logs. Spruce and fir mostly. Some pine. Dry enough for the stove if I cut it right. I work with the saw for an hour. Cut, stack, drag, cut again. I keep my head on a swivel without letting the saw wander. You lose focus with a chainsaw. You do not get a second chance. I stop every 10 minutes and listen. Wind, trees, nothing else. I cut until the sled is heavy. I drag it back to the shop and stack the wood under the overhang where snow does not bury it. The camp has fuel. That is the reason I stayed when the roads clogged with panicked traffic in the first week. I was sent out here to shut down equipment, secure the site, and wait for a pickup date. That pickup date never came. The camp fuel cage holds diesel meant to run skidders, loaders, trucks, and generators for months. It is a blessing and a trap. Anyone who finds it will want it. Anyone who wants it will not leave politely. After the wood, I do the fuel check. I walk to the cage, keys in hand. I do not keep the keys on me all day. I keep them hidden in a spot I can reach fast. I unlock the cage, slip inside, and lock it behind me. If someone jumps me out here, I want a barrier between me and whoever decides I am a resource. I check the tanks. I use a dipstick and a flashlight with a hooded beam. I keep the flashlight pointed down. I write the levels in my notebook later. The numbers matter. I rotate fuel into smaller containers with stabilizer. I learned that diesel sits and grows problems if you ignore it. Water in the tank, algae, filters clogging, engines dying at the wrong time. I already drained one tank last month after I saw a sludge line and realized I was getting lazy. I do not allow lazy. Lazy gets you killed out here without anyone to see it happen. When I step out of the cage, I stop with my hand still on the lock. Something looks off near the road. Not a person. Not a vehicle. The snow at the edge of the yard has marks that do not belong to me. My tracks are stamped into the packed path. These marks cut across the edge in a scattered pattern, shallow depressions and scuffs. A boot dragged, a heel dug in. Something heavy shifted. I stare long enough that my eyes start inventing shapes in the shadows. I force myself to move. I walk to the marks, slow, staying on my own track until the last moment. The marks are real. A vehicle came in, not all the way into camp. It stopped near the road and turned around. The tire pattern is not mine. The angle is wrong. I crouch and touch the snow. It is hard and crusted. The marks are fresh enough to still have sharp edges, within the last day. My mouth goes dry, so I swallow and stand up. I look down the road. The road is a narrow corridor through trees, snowbanks on both sides. Visibility is maybe 200 yards before the curve. Nothing moves. I walk back to the shop without running. Running makes noise. Running wastes energy. Running also means panic, and panic makes you forget steps. I bar the shop door behind me. I move to the window and look again. I adjust my angle so the glass does not reflect my face. I scan the road. Still nothing. I do not have a dog. I do not have a partner. I have a couple of firearms I took from a dead conservation officer truck I found abandoned on a spur road in the first month, plus a hunting rifle that belonged to one of the camp supervisors who never came back after driving into town for supplies. I hate that I know that rifle better now than I know any person. I keep it clean. I keep it ready. I do not wave it around. I do not shoot unless the alternative is worse. I move to the locker where I keep the rifle in a soft case. I pull it out and check it without rushing. Chamber clear, magazine loaded, safety on. I set it on the bench. Then I grab my binoculars and my pack. I keep the pack ready with a first aid kit, water, a small ration bag, spare gloves, and a headlamp. It sits by the back door. I tell myself it is for emergencies. The truth is that it is there because part of me expects to lose this place one day, and I do not want to die because I forgot my water bottle. I go to the back of the shop and open the small door that leads into the tree line behind the buildings. The camp backs up into dense forest. The company used it for a windbreak. It also gives me cover. I slip out and close the door quietly. I move through the trees in the path I cleared earlier in winter. The path is narrow and hidden. It leads to a small rise where I can see the road and most of the yard through gaps in branches. I built a crude lookout there with a piece of plywood and some spruce boughs. From the campside, it looks like debris. From my side, it is a window. I settle in behind the plywood and set the binoculars on my knees. I scan the road in both directions. Nothing for a full minute. Then faint, a sound. An engine. Low RPM, not pushed hard, controlled. The sound comes from the south. I keep my face still and my hands steady by force, not comfort. A pickup comes into view around the curve, slow. The truck is dark, maybe black, maybe deep blue. The paint is dirty. The windshield has cracks. The front bumper is bent. The tires throw small sprays of snow. The truck should not be out here. Not if the roadblocks closer to town still exist. Not if fuel is rare. Not if the driver has any sense. The truck keeps rolling anyway. It stops right where the fresh tracks were. The driver sits for a second. Then the door opens. A man steps out. He wears a heavy jacket and a beanie pulled low. He looks around, slow. He does not wave. He does not call out. He scans the camp the way I scan it. He knows what this place could be. The passenger door opens. A second person steps out, a woman, hair tucked under a hood, a rifle slung on a strap. Not carried loose, she knows what she is doing, at least enough to keep a weapon from dropping into snow. The back door opens. A third person climbs out, a man, younger, moving fast, head turning in short bursts. He looks jittery. That one worries me. Fast movements mean bad decisions. The last door opens. A fourth person gets out from the back seat. Another man, broad shoulders, carrying a metal pry bar. He slams the door shut and walks a few steps into the road without checking the woods. That one worries me for a different reason. Comfort. Comfort means he has done this before. 4 people. 1 truck, at least 2 firearms, 1 pry bar. They stand in the road and talk to each other, but I cannot hear words at this distance. The driver points toward the fuel cage. The woman looks toward the shop. The younger man keeps glancing down the road. The pry bar man walks toward the camp gate. There is no gate, not a real one. Just a wide entrance off the logging road. I blocked the entrance with a line of scrap logs and a parked loader months ago. It is not an impenetrable wall. It is friction. It forces a vehicle to slow. It forces people to climb. It buys me seconds. Seconds matter. The pry bar man reaches my barrier and tests it with his boot. He tries to climb. The logs shift a little under his weight. He swears, not loud enough for me to hear the word, but the tone carries. He climbs anyway and drops into the yard. He turns and waves the others forward. I keep watching. I do not shoot. Shooting is a bell you cannot unring. If I shoot and miss, I invite a chase. If I shoot and hit, I invite revenge. If I shoot and kill, I invite something worse. I do not know these people. I do not know how many more are down the road. I need information first. The driver and the woman climb the barrier next. The younger man hesitates, looks back at the truck, then climbs. All 4 enter the yard. The truck stays in the road, engine off. That tells me the driver expects to leave quick. That also tells me the truck might not restart if it sits too long and cold. Old vehicles do that. A diesel with weak glow plugs or a tired battery turns into a brick. That detail goes into my head and stays there. They spread out. The pry bar man heads for the shop door. The driver heads for the fuel cage. The woman walks toward the cabins, scanning. The younger man follows her. then drifts back toward the shop. They are not moving as a tight unit. That means they either trust the area is clear or they are not trained. Either way, it gives me options. I back away from the lookout, slow, keeping my boots on the packed trail so the snow does not crunch. I move through the trees toward the back door of the shop. I keep the rifle down, safety on. I go by memory, not speed. Branches snag sleeves. I let them. Ripping fabric makes noise. I reach the back door and pause. I listen. I hear voices now, muffled through walls. I hear the scrape of metal on metal at the front door. Pry bar. I do not go inside. If I go inside, I trap myself between whoever comes through the front and whoever circles around. I move along the back of the building to the corner where I can see the shop door without exposing my whole body. I peek around. The pry bar man is at the door, working the lock. The lock holds. He yanks harder. The bar flexes. He spits. He looks annoyed, not scared. The driver is at the fuel cage with bolt cutters. He clips the padlock on the outer latch. The lock pops. He swings the cage door open and walks in. He does not lock it behind him. That is a mistake. People make mistakes when they think the world belongs to them. The woman is near the cabin row. She checks one door. It is locked. She moves to the next. The younger man stands back, watching the trees, rifle loose in his hands. His muzzle swings too much. He is scared. Scared people do dumb things. I have a plan for this, because I made plans for scenarios I hated picturing. My goal is not to win a fight. My goal is to survive and keep the camp from becoming an easy resupply point for anyone else. If these 4 strip it, I will starve later. If these 4 decide I am part of the inventory, I will die now. First step is to separate them. Second step is to remove the truck as an easy exit. Third step is to force them to leave with less than they want. If I can do that without shooting, I will. If I cannot, I will do what I have to do, and I will live with it afterward in a way that does not involve speeches or self-pity. I slip back into the trees and move toward the road. I stay low, using the snow berm and brush to hide my movement. My boots crunch once on a patch of crust. I freeze. No one reacts. I keep moving. I reach the truck. The keys are not in it. Good. That means the driver is cautious. Bad. That means the driver will not panic at a simple trick. I pop the hood latch and raise the hood a few inches. The engine bay is a mess of hoses, wires, and grime. I do not need to sabotage much. I just need time. I pull the negative battery cable off and tuck it under a plastic cover. I take a moment to check the glow plug relay area. I do not have tools out here. I do not need them. I just need the truck to fail when the driver expects it to run. That creates confusion. Confusion creates openings. I close the hood gently, lower than a click, so it looks shut. Then I move to the driver's side door and check it. Locked. I do not break glass. Broken glass is noise and a beacon. I move back the way I came, keeping the road between me and the yard for as long as possible. When I reach the tree line again, I take a different angle toward the fuel cage. The driver is still inside, moving containers. He has a siphon hose. He is filling jerry cans. He works fast. He came prepared. That means he has done this before. I do not have time for a careful negotiation. Negotiation means standing exposed while 4 people decide if your words have value. I do not offer myself that risk. I reach the fuel cage from the side. The door is open. I step into the shadow behind the cage door, rifle up, not aimed at a head, aimed at the floor near the driver's boots. I clear my throat once, quiet but sharp. The driver jerks. He turns. His hands freeze on the hose. His eyes lock on the rifle. Drop it, I say. My voice comes out steady because I keep it steady. Back out, slow. He raises his hands. Easy, he says. We just need fuel. I do not answer the need. Everyone needs fuel. Need does not grant permission. Back out, I say again. Hands stay up. He backs toward the door, slow. He glances past me toward the yard. He wants to call out. I see it in his mouth. I cut it off. Say a name and I fire, I tell him. Not at you, at the tank. You will watch the whole place burn. That gets his attention in a different way. He stops moving his mouth. He keeps backing out. When he reaches the edge of the door, I shift sideways so I stay behind cover, and I motion him out with the muzzle. He steps into the yard, hands still up. Walk to the road, I say. Do not turn. He walks. He does not turn. He is not brave. He is smart. Smart is harder to handle, but it is predictable. I keep the rifle on him while I step into the cage and shut the door. I slam the latch and throw the padlock on, not to lock it, just to make it look locked. I do not have time to resecure everything. I need to move. The pry bar sound at the shop stops. I hear footsteps on packed snow. The woman shouts something, a short call. The younger man answers. I cannot hear words, but I hear the shift in tone. Alert. I move along the fence line of the fuel cage and angle toward the loader. The loader sits in the yard with its bucket lowered. I keep its keys in a hidden spot under the frame. I reach under, pull the key ring, and pocket it. I do not start it yet. Starting it is noise. I keep it as a threat and a tool. The driver reaches the road and turns around for the first time. He sees nothing. I stayed behind the cage and the loader. He scans the trees. He shouts again. This time I hear one word. Lucas. My stomach drops for a reason that has nothing to do with fear sensations and everything to do with reality. He knows my name. That means he did not stumble onto this camp by accident. That means he knows there is a person here. That means someone talked. Someone saw me. Someone connected the dots. Or someone had records. The woman moves toward the road, rifle up. The younger man follows, trying to keep his muzzle steady. The pry bar man comes from the shop, angry, bar in hand. He looks around, then points toward the fuel cage, sees the latch, and yells. I do not have time to puzzle out how my name traveled out here. I need to act. I slide along the loader, get behind the engine housing, and raise my voice enough to carry without screaming. You leave, I call. Right now. You take your truck and go. The driver takes a few steps toward the yard. We are not here to hurt you, he calls back. His tone is practiced. We can trade. We have food. I do not move. You do not know what you have, I tell him. You do not know what you brought with you. You leave. The pry bar man laughs, sharp and short, and starts walking toward the loader. He is testing me. He wants to see if I shoot. I fire one shot into the snow 5 yards in front of him. The sound cracks through the trees and bounces off the buildings. Birds explode out of branches. The pry bar man stops so fast he almost falls. The younger man flinches and swings his rifle toward the sound, uncontrolled. I do not fire again. I let the echo die. Then I speak in a normal tone, not yelling. Next one goes into your engine block, I say, or into your knee. Pick your outcome. The woman raises her voice. You're alone out here, she calls. You cannot hold this forever. That is true. It does not mean she gets to take it today. You do not know what I can hold, I answer. You do not know what else is out here. The driver takes a step back toward the truck, slow, and lifts his hands again. No one needs to die, he says. Give us 2 cans and we leave." I almost laugh. Not because it is funny, because the request is framed like he is doing me a favor. People keep trying to drag the old world into the new one. Bargaining, deals, reason. It all breaks when someone realizes there is no referee. I do not answer him. I turn and move behind the loader, out of sight. I hear the pry bar man curse again, louder. I hear footsteps shift. I slide into the space between the loader and a stack of pallets. From there, I can reach the loader cab without exposing myself to the road. I climb in, key in, and start it. The engine turns over slow, then catches. The sound is deep and loud. It fills the camp. It also fills the woods. That is part of the plan, even if I hate it. The 4 freeze for a beat, then start moving. The driver heads for the truck. The woman backs up toward him, scanning the trees. The younger man looks torn between following and aiming at the loader. The pry bar man steps toward the loader, then stops when he realizes a loader can crush him without effort. I lift the bucket and roll forward, slow, deliberate. I do not chase. I use the loader to block the road. I angle the machine across the entrance, bucket low, so the truck cannot drive into camp. Then I keep rolling until the loader's frame blocks the road itself where the truck sits. I stop 10 yards from the truck and lower the bucket into the snow. The driver reaches the truck first. He yanks the door handle, locked. He tries again. He hits the window. He looks around, eyes wide. He shouts something to the others. The woman runs to the passenger door and tries it. Locked. The younger man runs to the back door. Locked. They do not understand yet. They assume I have a remote lock. They assume tricks. They do not suspect that a 10-second battery cable pull just turned their escape plan into a problem that requires time and calm hands. The pry bar man charges to the truck with his bar, swinging it into the driver's side window. The glass cracks and collapses inward. The sound is sharp. He reaches in to unlock the door from inside. It opens. I keep the loader idling. I do not shoot. Not yet. I watch. The driver dives in and twists the ignition. Nothing. He pumps the pedal. He twists again. The starter clicks. No crank. He tries again. Still nothing. He slams his fist into the steering wheel. The woman leans into the passenger side, shouting at him. The younger man stands behind the truck, rifle up toward the woods, spinning in short, panicked arcs. The pry bar man drops the bar and pops the hood latch, then yanks the hood up. He stares into the engine bay and starts swearing. That is my moment. I raise my voice over the loader. "You are not leaving in that truck," I call. "Walk out, south, stay on the road. If you cut into the trees, you get shot." The driver climbs out, hands open, palms visible. "You did something," he says. "I did," I answer. "You came here and you called my name. That means you are not lost. That means you planned this. Walk." The pry bar man steps away from the hood and looks at the loader, then at the camp. His eyes move to the fuel cage. His jaw tightens. He wants to rush the cage anyway. He wants to take what he came for, even if it costs him. The woman makes a decision. She grabs the driver's sleeve and pulls him back. "Not here," she says to him, low, but I hear it. Then she looks toward the woods and shouts, "We are leaving." That shout is not for me. That shout is for someone else. Someone I cannot see. I cut the loader engine. Silence drops again, sudden and wrong. I hear the woods answer with a faint sound far off, a human noise that does not fit, a drawn-out moan, distant, carried between trees. Then another. Then a third, closer. The 4 by the truck freeze. The younger man swings his rifle toward the sound. The woman's posture shifts. The driver looks down the road and back again, trapped between problems. The shout pulled something. Maybe it pulled infected. Maybe it pulled more people. Either way, the camp is no longer quiet. The pry bar man reacts first. He grabs the bar and starts running south down the road, away from the camp, away from the woods on the north side. He does not wait for the others. He does not care. The driver follows, shouting at him. The woman hesitates, looking at the truck again, then at the woods, then at the camp. The younger man backs up, rifle shaking in his hands, muzzle drifting toward my position in the loader cab. I raise the rifle from inside the cab and aim at the ground near his boots. I do not need to kill him. I need him to stop pointing at me. He sees the barrel and lowers his weapon a few inches. The sound in the woods grows. Footsteps in snow, not running, dragging, uneven. A branch snaps, then another. I see movement between trunks, figures stepping into the open, slow and wrong. One, then two, then more, drifting toward the noise and the scent of people. The woman grabs the younger man by the jacket and yanks him toward the road. "Move!" she snaps. He stumbles, then runs. The driver is already 20 yards down the road. The pry bar man is farther, disappearing around the curve. I could let them go and lock everything down. That would be the simple choice. The problem is that they know this place exists. They know fuel exists. They know a person is here. If they escape, they will return with more people. If they return with more people, I will lose. Not because I am weak, because numbers win when bullets and time run out. I make a decision I hate. I start the loader again. I roll forward and angle toward the truck. I keep the bucket low and shove the truck sideways off the road hard into the snow berm. Metal crunches. The truck slides and tips, landing on its side with a heavy thump. The sound echoes. The driver whips his head around and screams something angry. The woman stops and stares. The younger man almost falls. The truck is dead now. It is not a future tool for them. It is a future tool for no one. That is the point. I do not let resources become bait that pulls people back here. The infected keep coming, drawn by the engine noise and the shouting. I see 6 now, maybe 8. Clothes torn, skin gray, movement slow but steady. I do not stare at faces. I watch hands, feet, direction. The driver and the woman sprint south. The younger man lags, looking back. One infected turns toward him, head tilting, then shuffles faster. The younger man raises his rifle and fires, wild, shots cracking into trees and snow. The noise pulls the infected harder. It also pulls my attention to a bigger problem. The gunshots will carry for miles in this air. I stop the loader and jump out, moving back toward the camp. I do not chase the group. I chase the consequences. I run, careful, controlled, toward my shop. I bar the door behind me and move straight to the radio shelf. I do not turn the radio on. I grab a set of ear protection muffs and put them on. Then I move to the window and watch the yard. The infected reach the entrance and start wandering into the yard, drawn by scents and sounds that are fading fast. Without people in the yard, their movement slows. They drift toward the cabins, bumping into doors. One slams a shoulder into a cabin wall again and again, until the sound stops and it just stands there, head angled, listening for something it cannot find. I stand still and let the moment pass. I force my hands to stay useful. I check my rifle, I check my spare magazine. I set them down and pick up the binoculars again. I scan the road where the group ran. I see nothing. They are gone around the curve. I should feel relief. I do not. I feel the shape of a new problem taking root. They came here for fuel, which means they are desperate enough to risk a long trip. They knew my name, which means they had information. They ran because the infected showed up, not because I convinced them with words. They will tell someone about this camp. If they survive the road, they will return with friends. If they die on the road, someone else might find the dead truck and follow the trail. I do not get to go back to normal routine after this. Not today. Today becomes defense day. I wait until the infected drift away from the shop. Then I slip out the back door into the trees. I move to the lookout again, take my position, and watch the yard from cover. The infected wander in loose patterns. They bump into things. They stop. They start again. Cold keeps them slow. It does not make them harmless. After an hour, the infected drift back toward the road, pulled by something I cannot hear. Maybe a distant shot. Maybe a scream. Maybe nothing at all. Just the random motion they keep doing until they fall apart. Once the yard clears enough, I move. I go straight to the cabin row and check every door. All locked. No forced entry. Good. The woman did not have time. I check the windows. No broken glass. Good. I go to the fuel cage. The latch is damaged from the bolt cutters. I replace the padlock with a heavier one, and then I add a chain loop that forces someone to cut twice. I also pull 3 of the full jerry cans and move them to a new cache I started last week, buried under snow and spruce boughs 100 yards into the trees. I do not keep all fuel in one place anymore. One theft should not end me. Then I deal with the truck. I walk to it, careful, scanning the woods. The truck lies on its side, driver window shattered. I do not climb inside. I pop the gas cap and take a sniff. Diesel, good. I siphon what I can into a container, slow, using a hand pump. I do not spill. Spilled fuel stinks for days. Spilled fuel is a trail. When I finish, I wipe the cap and close it. I leave the truck there. It becomes a warning. It also becomes a problem. I will deal with it later. I drag the pry bar back into the yard. The pry bar man dropped it when he ran. He will miss it. He might come back for it. He will not find it. I put it in the shop scrap bin with the other tools I collected from people who never returned. That bin is not a trophy. It is a reminder that nothing stays owned out here unless you guard it. By late afternoon, the sky shifts to that pale winter light that makes everything look flat. I do not check a clock. I check the sun angle. I do a perimeter walk before dark. I follow the camp edge, stepping around cabins, checking the tree line, checking my hidden path entrances. I see the tracks from the 4 people clearly now that I know what to look for. One set of tracks breaks away from the group near the cabin row and loops behind the last cabin. The woman did it. She checked the back side. She might have been looking for a second vehicle. She might have been checking for a person watching. She was not careless. I find something else at the edge of that loop. A small strip of cloth caught on a nail in the cabin siding. It matches her jacket sleeve color. She brushed against it. That means she got close enough to the cabin corner to be in my blind spot. That means she could have seen the back door of the shop if she looked long enough. That means she might know my escape route exists. I pull the cloth free and pocket it. Then I walk to my hidden path entrance and change it. I drag a pile of deadfall over it. I stomp new tracks that lead away from it. I break branches at eye level to create a false trail. It is not perfect, but it will slow someone who tries to follow. Back in the shop, I write everything down. Tire marks, number of people, weapons, the name call, the cloth strip, the direction they ran, the time estimate. Then I write a plan. Not a speech, a plan with steps. I have learned that a plan written in ink keeps me from waking up tomorrow and pretending this never happened. Night comes early. I keep lights off. I eat in the dark with a small red lens headlamp pointed at my bowl. I listen through the wall for engines. I hear nothing. I do not sleep in the cabin. I sleep in the shop office corner on a cot behind a shelf, with the back door barred and the front door reinforced. The shop smells harsh, but it is a strong building. The cabin walls are thin. A cabin door can be kicked in. A shop door takes work. I wake up before dawn without an alarm. I do not wake up calm. I wake up already moving, because my brain refuses to let me lie still when the camp has been visited. I sit up on the cot and listen. At first I hear nothing. Then I hear a faint sound from outside down the road. Not an engine, not a voice, a steady scrape, something heavy being dragged over snow. I do not rush to the window. Rushing makes you show yourself. I slide off the cot, pull my boots on, and move to the office window corner where I can see the yard through a narrow gap. I watch. Nothing in the yard. No movement near the truck. Then the sound comes again, closer, and I realize it is not a scrape. It is footsteps. Many footsteps, slow, uneven, dragging. A group of infected moving down the road toward the camp, drawn by the noise from yesterday, still following it. The group appears around the curve. 10, maybe 12. More than yesterday. Their clothes are stiff with frost. Their heads tilt, listening. They drift toward the camp entrance and start pressing against the logs. They do not climb with intention. They shove and stumble and slide, driven by the same simple pull. A few fall and get up again. The barrier holds, but the noise of bodies bumping and grunting carries. Then I hear something else. An engine. Farther back, controlled. Slow. The sound cuts through the infected noise. My stomach goes hollow for a different reason now. The group from yesterday came back, or someone else came, and the infected are now a screen that hides them. I pull away from the window and move to the back door. I slip outside into the trees and take the hidden path to the lookout. Snow bites at my cheeks. I ignore it. I keep moving. I reach the plywood screen and look through. A second truck is on the road, stopped behind the infected cluster. A different pickup, lighter color, with a roof rack. 5 people in this one, maybe 6. I cannot see all of them yet. One person stands in the bed with binoculars aimed at the camp. That person is calm. That person worries me more than the scared younger man from yesterday. Calm people do not make mistakes as often. The group does not drive into the infected. They park and wait, using the infected as a shield. Then one man steps out and walks forward, slow, hands held out, palms visible. He calls into the woods. "Lucas," he says loud, "we talk." I stay still. I do not answer. I watch the road edges. I watch the trees. I look for movement in the cut line. I see one person slip off the road and into the brush on the east side, using the infected noise to cover steps. Flanker, they learned, or they already knew. I back away from the lookout and move through the trees toward the east side of camp. I do not go straight to the flank path. I go wide, using the ridge to keep my silhouette down. I keep the rifle slung and use my hands to push branches aside without snapping them. I find the flankers' tracks in fresh snow and follow them with my eyes, not my feet, since stepping into his trail makes my own tracks overlap and hides details. The flanker moves fast for snow. He knows where he is going. That means he scouted this before or someone gave him a map. He aims toward the cabin row and then toward the back of the shop. He aims toward my hidden path entrance. The cloth strip from yesterday means the woman saw it. Now this man is going right for it. I do not let him reach it. I take a knee behind a tree, bring the rifle up, and aim at the snow in front of his path, not at him. He steps into the open gap between trees. I fire. The shot snaps through the forest. Snow jumps up in a white puff 2 yards in front of his boots. He freezes. His head whips toward the sound. "Back," I call, voice low but sharp. "Back to the road." He raises his rifle, swinging it toward my tree line, but he does not know exactly where I am. He fires once, blind, the bullet snapping through branches. Bark chips off a trunk near me. I do not flinch into noise. I slide backward behind thicker cover. I fire again, closer to his boots, still not into him. He gets the message. He turns and runs back toward the road, stumbling in the snow. He is not calm anymore. The road group reacts. I hear yelling. The infected respond to yelling and start drifting toward the road, away from my camp entrance. That opens a lane. One of the men on the road fires into the infected, trying to clear space. The infected cluster starts breaking into pieces, some turning toward the camp again, some turning toward the gunshots. I move fast now back toward the shop, using trees as cover. I need to keep the raider group outside the camp. If they get into the yard with the infected still wandering, the situation becomes chaos. And chaos is where people die for dumb reasons. I reach the shop back door and slip inside. I bar it. I move to the front window and look out. The man who called my name is still in the road, hands out, talking. Another man is behind him, rifle aimed at the camp entrance. The woman from yesterday stands near the truck, pointing toward the fuel cage. The driver from yesterday stands beside her, jaw tight. He is not smiling. The younger man is not visible. Either he stayed back in the truck, or he is injured, or he ran away last night. I cannot assume. The man in the road calls again. "We know you are there," he says. "We know you are alone. We do not want trouble. We want fuel and tools. You trade or we take." I keep my face away from the glass. I do not answer him. I move to the shelf and grab a handheld air horn I kept for emergencies. It is loud and ugly. It is also useful. I open the shop door a crack and shove the horn out, pointing toward the road. Then I blast it for 2 seconds. The sound is brutal. It cuts through trees and air. It also pulls every infected ear within reach. I shut the door and bar it again. Through the window, I see the road group flinch and start shouting. The infected respond instantly, drifting toward the new sound. More shapes appear from the woods behind the road group, drawn in. The road group has a problem now that is not me. The calm man shouts, angry. "You want to do this?" he yells. "Fine." He points at the camp entrance. 2 men start moving forward, rifles up, stepping around infected, pushing them with their boots. One infected grabs at a jacket sleeve. A man knocks it away with the butt of his rifle. The infected stumbles, then follows again. The group is forcing a path. That is what I feared. If they reach the barrier and climb in, I have a fight in my yard with infected moving around. I do not allow that. I grab the keys to the loader and to the skidder. The skidder sits deeper in the yard, behind cabins, parked with a dead battery until I jump it. The loader is the fast tool. I move to the back door, slip out into the trees again, and take the hidden path to the loader cab. I keep low. I keep my head turned toward the road group through gaps. The 2 men reach the barrier. One starts climbing. The other covers with his rifle. The infected press behind them, drawn to movement. The barrier shifts under weight. I start the loader and ram it into the barrier from the inside, pushing the logs outward while keeping the bucket low. The logs roll and shift, not opening a path, but turning into a mess that is hard to climb. The man on the barrier loses footing and falls backward into the roadside. He lands hard. His rifle drops. An infected lurches onto him. He screams. The other man fires into the infected, trying to pull it off. The shots hit close. The man scrambles in the snow, kicking, trying to get up. I do not watch the outcome. I use the loader to push the logs into a tighter cluster. Then I swing the bucket and scoop up a pile of snow and debris. I drive forward and dump the load on the roadside, directly into the path they are trying to clear. It creates a fresh berm. It is not tall, but it is one more obstacle. The road group starts shouting again, some of it panic, some of it anger. The infected density increases. More drift in from the woods on the far side of the road, drawn by gunfire and screaming. The calm man loses his calm. He waves his arms and shouts at his people to pull back. The woman from yesterday looks toward the camp and then toward the woods, calculating. I see her eyes through binocular distance, but I can read posture. She is not committed to this fight. She wants fuel. She does not want to die in snow over it. I drive the loader backward into the yard and stop behind the fuel cage, using it as cover. I shut the engine off. Silence again, except for the infected and the road group. I raise my voice. "You are done," I call. "You leave. You leave now." The calm man shouts back, "You cannot keep this forever." I answer, "You are not the one who decides." The road group starts retreating, backing toward their truck. The infected follow. One man trips, another yanks him up. The driver from yesterday helps shove an infected off with his boot, then jumps into the truck bed. The woman climbs into the passenger seat. The calm man stays out for a second, firing into infected to clear space. Then he runs and climbs in. The truck roars to life and lurches forward, tires spinning in snow, pushing through infected with brutal force. It clears the curve and disappears south. The infected remain. Some wander into the road. Some drift toward the camp barrier again, drawn by lingering noise. I do not chase them. I do not waste ammunition. I wait, still behind cover, until their movement loses purpose and they drift away. That takes hours. Winter light fades into dusk. The cold deepens. My hands get stiff inside gloves, but I keep them busy. I do not sit. I do not relax. When the yard finally clears, I move. I do not celebrate. I start with immediate damage control. The barrier is a mess now. Logs scattered, snow berm disturbed. I use the loader to rebuild it, stacking logs tighter, adding scrap metal sheets from a dismantled trailer to create a slippery face on the roadside. I pack snow against it and stomp it down, turning it into hard ice over time. I set 2 trip lines farther out with empty cans tied to them. If someone walks in at night, the cans will rattle. It is crude. It is also better than sleeping through footsteps. I then walk the road to the curve, staying close to the trees, scanning for ambush. I find the spot where the man fell. There is blood in the snow, not much. Enough. There are drag marks leading toward the woods. The infected probably pulled him. I do not follow. I do not recover anything. I back up and return to camp. Back in the shop, I sit at the bench and force myself to drink water. I force myself to eat, even though my mouth wants to stay tight and dry. Calories matter. I cannot let stress turn into skipped meals. Skipped meals turn into mistakes tomorrow. The next week becomes a loop of reinforcement. I do not go out far for scavenging. I do not cut extra wood unless I must. I keep close to camp. I move caches deeper into the forest. I set decoy containers in obvious spots with water and rocks inside. I move my real supplies into places that take time to reach and effort to dig. I also change my radio schedule. I scan 3 times a day now, short bursts, hoping to catch a human voice that is not part of that road group. On the 6th day after the second visit, I hear a voice on the radio that makes me stop moving. Not because it is magical, because it is real and clear, and it says a location and a time and a call sign. A man's voice, tired, speaking in plain words. He says there is a small relay running out of a community hall south of Prince George, powered by a generator on ration. He says the hall is not a safe zone. It is a contact point. He says anyone traveling should avoid highways and should travel in daylight. He says he will broadcast again at the same hour tomorrow. I listen until the broadcast ends. I do not trust it. Trust is expensive. I write the details down anyway. Then I sit in the shop office corner and stare at my hands until I realize I am wasting time. I stand up and start checking gear. Not because I'm leaving tomorrow, because I need the option to leave if the road group returns with enough people to overwhelm me. That night, I sleep in my boots. I hate sleeping in boots. The laces cut into my ankles and the leather stays cold. I do it anyway. The return does not happen the next day. It does not happen the day after. I do not relax. I keep reinforcing. I keep moving caches. I keep my rifle clean. I keep my vehicles ready enough to move if I have to. The loader stays with fuel. The generator stays maintained. The shop stays barred. On the 4th night, I hear an engine again. Far down the road, late, when the sky is already dark. Headlights sweep through trees. The beam flickers. The vehicle moves slow. It stops near the curve. Then the engine shuts off. No doors slam. No voices carry. I do not go to the window. I go to the lookout. I move through the trees and settle behind the plywood. I watch. A single person steps into the road with a small light, a headlamp pointed at the ground. A woman, the same woman from the road group. She walks alone. No rifle visible, hands visible. She stops near the curve and calls out, "Lucas!" Not shouted, just spoken into the cold. I do not answer. I keep watching for movement behind her. I scan the tree line on both sides. I see no one. The vehicle she arrived in sits in shadow behind the curve, hard to see. I do not assume it is empty. She speaks again, louder. "I am alone." She pauses. "He sent me, the one who talked. He wants you to hear something." I still do not answer. I wait. Silence stretches. She shifts her weight and looks down the road toward her vehicle. Then she reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small object. She holds it up, a piece of cloth. The cloth strip from her jacket sleeve, the one I pocketed. She holds it up higher. "You took this," she says. "That means you were close." She lowers it. "I am not here to fight." My throat tightens in a way I refuse to describe with easy phrases. I think through the options fast. If I ignore her, she leaves, and the group returns another time with more force. If I shoot her, the group returns with revenge. If I talk, I risk a trap. I decide on a 4th option. I talk without approaching. "Drop the cloth," I call from the trees. My voice carries. "Step back, hands open." She drops it in the snow. She steps back. Her hands stay open. "He wants you to know he can find you," she says. "He has maps. He has people. He has your name from the company records. He worked security for a contractor. He has papers." So that is it. Not magic, not a spy. Paper. The world ended, and paper still gets people killed. She continues. "He also wants you to know he does not want a war out here. He lost a man on the road. He blames you. He also blames himself. He says this camp is not worth the losses." I stay quiet. I listen. She adds, "He is moving south. He found a place with people. He will not come back here if you do one thing." I answer, "Name it." "Kill the truck. she says. Burn it. Strip it. Do not leave it as a marker. Someone else will follow it. That hits a nerve because it matches what I already know. I left the truck because I was tired and because I wanted a warning. Warnings become invitations. She speaks again, softer. I do not want to come back here, she says. I do not want him to come back here. I want you to stay alive. I want you to stop pulling infected into the road with horns and engines. People hear it. I almost tell her that people hearing it is the point. Then I stop myself, because pride is pointless. I ask, why are you doing this? She hesitates. Because if he keeps pushing, he gets everyone killed. Because I saw your camp. It can keep one person alive through winter. It can keep a small group alive if a small group acts normal. She swallows and looks down the road. I am done with his way. I do not invite her in. I do not walk up. I do not soften. I say, walk back to your vehicle. Drive away. If I see headlights again, I shoot. She nods once. Fair, she says. She turns and walks back to the curve, slow, not running. She disappears behind the bend. A minute later, the engine starts. The vehicle rolls away south. Headlights fade. The road goes dark again. I stay in the lookout for an hour. I watch for any sign of a second vehicle. I see none. Then I move back to camp and do exactly what she suggested, because it is the same conclusion I would reach without her. The next day, I drag the overturned truck farther off the road with the loader. I strip it. I take the battery. I take the alternator. I take the fuel filter assembly. I take the spare tire. I take the roof rack hardware. I take anything useful and stash it. Then I drain remaining diesel and pour it into my stabilized supply. I do not light the truck on fire. Fire is too visible. Instead, I remove key parts and bury the shell under snow berms and deadfall. In a month, it will look like wreckage swallowed by winter. It will not look like a sign that says fuel is here. Life does not become peaceful after that. It becomes quieter. That is different. Quiet is not safety. Quiet is space to work. I keep my routines. I keep my defenses. I keep my radio scans. I keep the camp running. I also start prepping for a move in spring. Not a dramatic escape. A measured relocation toward that broadcast contact point near Prince George, if the broadcast stays consistent and if the voice stays human. I do not chase hope. I follow signals only when they stay steady. On the first day of real spring melt, when the snow starts turning to heavy slush and the road begins to soften, I stand in the yard and listen. No engines, no voices, no infected drifting in, just water dripping from the eaves and the slow groan of thawing wood. I look at the shop, the fuel cage, the cabins, the piles of cut wood, the machines I kept alive with my hands. I do not call it home. I do not call it a fortress. It is a place I kept functional long enough to get to the next choice. I go back inside, open my notebook, and write one sentence at the top of a new page. Leave before someone forces the decision. Then I start packing, one item at a time, in a way that makes sense and keeps me alive.